Hi everyone, hello my students. So since we were not able to discuss this one properly earlier, so I will discuss to you lesson 4, solving problems involving radicals. Okay, so we started with, if you could remember, we started with an activity, a recall activity in which you were able to solve this problem here. So we have approximately the distance d in miles that a person can see to the horizon is represented by the equation d equals the square root of 3h, where h is the height where the person is. How far can a man see if he is 5 meters above the ground? So what you did is just to substitute h, since it is the height where the person is and we were given 5 meters in the problem. So just substitute it with the h in the given formula. So we have here, let me use my pen first. So we have here the substitution part. Okay, so h becomes here, from here h becomes 5. So substituting h with 5, we have 3 times 5, it's 15. And since 15 over 2 is not simplified, if you could remember, bawal ang radical in the denominator. So we have to make use of the rationalization. We have to do the process of rationalization. So rationalizing 15 of the square root of 15 over 2, we simply multiply this, both numerator and denominator, with 2 over 2. So that would mean 15 times 2 is 30. So you have the square root of 30. And 2 times 2 is 4. But the square root of 4 is 2. So we now have a final answer of the square root of 30 over 2 meters. But if you're going to make use of the given equivalent here, we have 1 mile is equivalent to 1,609.3 meters. So you can have an answer of 0.0017 mile. Okay? So from there, we will answer these questions. Okay, what is your mathematical representation of the problem? Okay, so it's given already. It's the d equals the square root of 3h over 2. And how far can a man see if he is 15 meters above the ground? So just like what you did earlier, when you substitute h with 5, so that's what you're going to do also with the 15. Substitute h with 15, so you're going to have 3 times 15 over 2, and then 3 times 15 is 45. Then move on with the solution. Okay, so how did you solve the problem? Okay, by simply substitution, and by substitution, and the processes applied are rationalization and multiplication of radicals, or multiplication. Okay, so this is problems involving radicals. Therefore, we have to try how to solve problems involving radicals. Now, allow me to use my language if the purpose is to discuss with you how to do this. Okay, para mas better ang understanding. Alright, so we have here, let me read to you the problem. A woman bikes 5 kilometers to the east going to school and then walks 9 kilometers northward going to church. How far is she from the starting point, which is her house? Okay, by just merely reading the problem, medyo blurry, or we cannot visualize the problem. In other words, it is suggested to illustrate the problem before solving. Okay, so let's get back to the problem. It says that a woman bikes 5 kilometers to the east going to school. Okay, so kung mag-illustrate ta, then we need a woman who is riding her bike. Okay, tapos um, she is going to school, which is 5 kilometers away from her house, which is the starting point. And then, it says in the problem, sa continuation niya is, the woman from school walks 9 kilometers in going to church. Okay, so we now have our illustration. And we are asked as to how far is the woman from the starting point, which is her house. So this problem is simply asking us the distance from the church to the woman's house, or from the woman's house to the church. Okay, so if you have noticed, we have a right triangle in the illustration. Okay, because we have illustrated the problem, then it would be easy for us to solve the problem. Okay, so now since we have a right triangle, we need to put in the given in the right triangle. Since the given says that 5 kilometers to the east of going to school, sorry. So we have 5 kilometers on the horizontal, and then going to the church northward, so that must be 9 kilometers. So we now have the given of 5 and 9 in the figure. So right triangle siya. Okay? Now, for right triangle, it is very famous, or how do you call this? Very essential to make use of the Pythagorean theorem. And if wala nakahinumdum sa Pythagorean theorem, so it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Okay, so how do we use Pythagorean theorem, class? Okay, diba, it should be that c should always be on the diagonal part of the Pythagorean theorem. Oh, I mean the right triangle. So for example, in this right triangle, this one here, wait lang. Okay, siya mo gana. Okay, so this one here, kaning nga part is the diagonal part, kaning yun dapat ang C. Okay, C siya. And dili siya pwede, how do you call this? Dili siya pwede mapulihan og A or B. C lang din na siya nga part, the diagonal part. Okay? And then, for the A, erase na ako kay pangit. Okay, for the A and B, pwede na siya magka-interchange. It's either A will be 5, wait lang. It's either A is 5, wait lang again. It's either A is 5, pasensya, or and B is 9, or the other way around. Pwede po, wait lang. Palpak. Wait lang for a while, class. Okay. So, or it could be the other way around. A is 9 and B is 5. Again, pwede magka-interchange ang A and B for as long as you are putting it in the horizontal and vertical part of the right triangle. But C dapat is always on the diagonal. Okay, so let's substitute. So from the figure, we have A is 5 or 9, and B is 9 or 5, and C is the diagonal. So let's make use of the Pythagorean theorem. Substitute, so we have 5 squared plus 9 squared. Now, what is 5 squared? 5 squared is 25, tama. And then, what is 9 squared? Yes, it's 81. So, we will now add 25 plus 81 is 106. Now, we will be looking for C and not C squared. So, how do we eliminate that exponent of 2 in C? So, we will make use of rational exponents. We are going to raise them to 1/2. Dapat, both sides of the equation. So, there you go. So, what's the purpose of raising this to 1/2 in the first place, class? Okay? The purpose is, once naka-raise na siya og 1/2, then you can apply the law of power to a power in which exponents are multiplied. So, pag mag-multiply ka, C, sa exponent of C, so you will have 2 times 1/2. And 2 times 1 is 2 over 2, so that will be equal to 1. So, on the left side of the equation, C na lang. Diba? And now, how do you evaluate 106 raised to 1/2? Medyo lisod. Pero dili lisod if you know how to convert this or how to transform this into radicals. So, sa radicals, pag mag-transform ka, denominator becomes its index while numerator is its exponent. So, this will be the square root of 106. And the square root of 106 is simplified. Wala na siya factor wherein 1 is a perfect square. Therefore, all we need to do is just to put the given unit, which is kilometer, and problem solved. Okay? I hope. Alright, so let's try another problem. So another problem is the sum of a number and its square root is equal to 0. Find the number. Now, unlike the previous problem, we cannot illustrate this. So, it's a problem of numbers. So, imposible ka maka-illustrate. So, let's just have the mathematical symbol that would represent our problem. So, let's create a mathematical symbol. So, from the problem, you have sum of a number and its square root. So, for mathematics, diba, if uncertain ka with the given number, so you're going to let x or any variable to represent the problem. So if we are going to let x to stand for a number, then we're going to have x plus the square root of x. That is coming from the statement sum of a number and its square root. And according to the problem, this one is equal to 0. Okay? So now, for radical equations, you can solve radical equations when the left side of the equation or right side or any side, one side of the equation should be all radicals, the other side must be non-radical. So we have to transpose x to the other side. That is why the first step here is square root of x is equal to negative x. And then, what's the next step? Of course, to square both sides of the equation. Now, from the techniques that we've learned from our previous lesson, we simply put down the radicand if there is a square root. So, the other part na lang of the other side of the equation na lang ang need nato isolve. So, what is negative x squared? So, that's negative x times negative x. So, that is x squared. So, we have x equals x squared. Now, x equals x squared. The next step, class, is this is now a quadratic equation. So, you have to set this into standard form. So, unsa ganitong standard form? The ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So, we can set this one in standard form as x squared minus x equals 0. Wherein, we can now factor this out as x times x minus 1 equals 0. I hope naka-remember pa mo sa factoring. We can find common factor of x squared and x, and that is x. And then, to get x minus 1, that's simply dividing x squared with x, so you have x, negative x with x, so you have negative 1. From here, we can now solve for x. Applying the zero product property, we can equate each to 0, and we can end up with x equals 0 or x equals 1. Now, x equals 0 or 1 is not a sure answer to this problem. Why? Because of the presence of an extraneous root. We are not certain if one between 0 and 1 is an extraneous root. So you have to do some quick check. Okay, so let's do some quick check. If x is 0, so you have 0 plus the square root of 0 is equal to 0. Is it equal to 0? 0 plus 0 equals 0, of course. So 0 is an answer to the problem. So let's check whether 1 is also an answer to the problem. So 1 plus the square root of 1 equals 0. 1 plus the square root of 1 is 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 equals 0? Of course not. Okay, so since it is false, then the only answer to this problem is 0. Only 0 lang. Okay, so I hope you have understood the lesson. Alright, so let's continue with another problem. So the formula R equals 2 times the square root of 5L can be used to approximate the speed R in miles per hour of a car that has left a skid mark of L in feet. Now the question is, how far will a car skid at 50 miles per hour or mph? Okay, so unlike the previous two problems, we do not illustrate this problem na. Okay, lisod na siya i-illustrate. Okay, no need. Okay, and we do not make a mathematical statement anymore because it is given already to be R equals 2 times square root of 5L. Our problem lang is where are we going to place or substitute 50? Is it when we have two variables present in our given formula? So is it to R or to L? Where are we going to substitute that 50 na given? So let's get back to the problem. So you have here, approximate the speed. This formula can be used to approximate the speed R in miles per hour. It's very clear that the given here is 50 miles per hour. Therefore, this 50 should be substituted to R. And now we have 50 equals to square root of 5L, wherein we can square both sides of the equation, and the square of 50 is 2,500. The square of 2 is 4. Just bring down 5L, so you have this one. Now, 4 times 5 is 20L. So we have 2,500 equals 20L. To solve, I mean for L, so we simply divide both by 20. Okay, so di na siya makita. So just go back to your Google Classroom. You have it there. Okay, I will be uploading it. Okay, so 2,500 divided by 20, L has a value of, natabunan sa camera. So L is 125 feet. Okay, so just go back to our Google Classroom for the whole solution of this problem. I hope na-clear na siya, no? Because we have to discuss another problem. So here's another one. Carpenters stabilize wall frames with a diagonal brace. The length of the brace is given by L equals the square root of h squared plus w squared. If the bottom of the brace is attached 9 meters from the corner and the brace is 12 meters long, how far up the corner post should it be nailed? Okay, so can you visualize the problem? Libog? Okay, so let's start with wall frame. The problem is all about wall frame. What is the shape of the wall frame? Frames. Okay, a frame could be a rectangle. Okay, now it is stated here that carpenters stabilize diagonal brace. So we have to put some diagonal of this frame. Now, we now have an illustration. All we need is just where are we going to place the given 9 meters and 12 meters. So, asa ni isulat ni 9 meters sa atong figure? So, when our figure is 9 meters, wait lang. So, nganong naman na siya din ha? Because it is stated that if the bottom of the brace is attached 9 meters from the corner, so you have bottom of the brace. So, na siya, diha, 9 meters. And then, from the first sentence, it says that diagonal ang brace. So, kung balikan mo ang 12 meters, it's very clear that the brace is 12 meters. So, if the brace is 12 meters and the first statement says diagonal ang brace, so the 12 must be placed there. Okay, let's check whether our figure is correct. You have it there. How far up the corner post? So, it's the post. So, a post is vertical. So, more or less, correct na siya. So, let's now have the solution using the formula given. So, L now, L is the brace. So, we have to place 12 in L. Okay? And W, the bottom part is 9. And then, we can square both sides of the equation. 12 square is 144. Bring down the other side of the equation as h squared plus 81 is coming from 9 squared. 9 times 9 is 81. Okay? So, after this, we can transpose 81 to the other side of the equation. So, we have 144 minus 81 equals h squared. And what is 144 minus 81? Okay, it's 63. Now, to solve for h and not h squared, we simply get the square root of 63. And then h na lang. Okay, that's the technique. Okay, so h is now equal to 63, the square root of 63. But 63 is not yet simplified. So we have to simplify this into, what are the factors of 63? One of which should be perfect. Yes, it's 9 times 7. 9 times 7. 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So the final answer must be h equals 3 square root of 7 meters. Okay, so nasabtan? Sana. Alright. Another problem. A wire is anchored on a 9-meter pole. One part is attached to the top of the pole and the other is 2 meters away from the house. How long is the wire? So there is a pole which is 9 meters. So pole, vertical. Tapos, wire is attached to it. So from the top of the pole, ang wire, if you're going to attach it, so pa-diagonal siya. So more or less, we can have an illustration of a right triangle. So, asa ibutang ang given. Okay? You have here 9-meter pole. So, budog ang pole naka, what's this? How do you call this? Naka horizontal. So, it's more or less the vertical part. So, 9 is to be placed there. And then, it must be 2 meters away from the house. So, diha ang 2 meters. And then, of course, ang gipangita is the wire, the diagonal part. Okay, so how do we solve this? Okay, kaganina we already have a problem in which the illustration is a right triangle and we made use of what? The Pythagorean theorem. So we can make use of that also in this problem because it's a right triangle. Alright, so it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. And since we have the horizontal and the vertical parts, we can substitute it to a and b. So we now have 2 squared plus 9 squared. And what is 2 squared? Yes, it's 4. How about 9 squared? Yes, it's 81. So we have 4 plus 81. 4 plus 81 is 85. Now, c squared equals 85. How do you solve for c? Pares kaganina, h squared equals 63 ba yun? So becomes h equals the square root of 63. Pwede po na gamiton this this time. So we can have C equals the square root of 85, in which the square root of 85 is already simplified. So, kay simplify na siya. This is the answer to the problem. Kulang na lang unit. And I forgot to put the unit. So, kamo na lang. This must be the square root of 85 meters. Okay? I hope nasabtan. This one is supposedly an activity for you to answer. Pero kay the net wasn't good earlier, so wala. Wala na siya na-answeran. So, I will just explain it to you. So, Juan is going to Nene's house to do a school project. Instead of walking to perpendicular streets to his classmate's house, Juan will cut a diagonal path. So, shortcut siya through the city plaza. Juan is 13 meters away from Nene's street. So, from Juan's house, 13 meters pa bago ang street ni Nene. Okay? The distance from the intersection of the two streets to Nene's house is 8 meters. So, this can be illustrated by a right triangle in which, for example, if we have here ang balay ni Juan, and then, muna ang intersection sa ang balay ni Nini, class, kay mo diagonal man siya, mo shortcut man siya in a diagonal way is kani. Okay? So, see, this is Nini's house, while this one here is Juan's house. Okay? So, where are we going to put the given? So, 13 meters daw si Juan from Nene's street. So, that is diha ang 13. Okay? So, from the intersection of the street to Nene's house is 8. Okay. So, yun. So, we now have 13 and 8. So, it's another right triangle. Therefore, ang iyang formula is still the Pythagorean theorem. By substitution, we have 13 squared plus 8 squared equals 169 from 13 squared and 64 from 8 squared. So, adding them will give us 233, in which kuha na to siyang square root. It's already simplified. So, therefore, the final answer is the square root of 233 meters. And if you're going to use calculator, this I think is 15 point something. Do not ask me of that something. I do not know. Dili kay ko gamit calculator pag radicals. Okay? So, I hope you've learned something, class. This one is a group assignment. So, I wish na-answer ninyo as a group. And make sure to submit this by Sunday because I'll be checking your assignments every Sunday. Bye-bye, everyone!